It began in the burning skies above Vorta Prime, a planet ruled by strength, not reason. The Vortari Empire was built by warriors, and every dispute was settled by combat. No diplomacy. No votes. Only blood decided truth. The Grand Arena stood as the heart of this savage culture, where species from across the galaxy came to fight or die. That year, a human name stirred across alien tongues. His name was Yalan, a former Earth soldier with a quiet nature, but fists that could crush steel. He didn't seek war. He came to rescue a missing research crew. But fate had other plans for him when he saved the life of the Empire's green-skinned princess from a rogue beast in the forest. By tradition, saving royal blood gave him the right to make a single demand from the Empire. Yalan only asked for the safe return of his crew. But the Empire's warriors saw his kindness as weakness. They mocked him, laughed at his humble nature, and challenged him to a duel of honor. The Supreme Chancellor, an enormous horned creature named Vardak, announced the stakes. If Yalan lost, his crew would be executed. If he won, the Empire would surrender their most prized possession, though none said what that truly meant. Yalan agreed without hesitation. The princess, stunned by Yalan's courage, begged him to walk away. She knew what the duel really meant. It was not just a fight, it was a trap. The Empire had chosen their best, Khazur, the undefeated champion of the Blood Pits. A monster with skin like stone and speed like lightning, Yalan trained in silence for 3 days under guard. No weapons were allowed, just skill, strength and heart. The alien guards laughed behind his back. They believed the human would be slaughtered within minutes, but Yalan never responded. He only stared at the horizon, fists clenched, eyes steady. The day of the duel arrived. Crowds screamed in the glowing arena, thousands watching from across the galaxy. The announcer roared Yalan's name with mockery. But when he stepped into the arena, silence fell. There was something in his walk that made even Khazur hesitate. Yalan bowed to the crowd, then looked directly at the princess seated beside her father. For a moment, everything else faded. He wasn't just fighting for his crew anymore. He was fighting for her, and the quiet truth behind her sorrowful eyes. Khazur roared, and the ground shook. Yalan didn't flinch. The duel began. No magic, no armor. Just two beings shaped by very different worlds, but both willing to bleed. For what mattered? The moment Khazur charged, it was like a wall of living stone crashing forward. His arms were thick like tree trunks, fists heavy with death. Yalan didn't move until the last second. He stepped aside, his movements smooth and calm. The crowd gasped as Khazur's blow missed by inches and cracked the stone. Behind Yalan, this wasn't how the duel was supposed to go. Everyone had bet on Khazur, rich nobles, warlords, even other royal houses. They laughed as they placed their bets, expecting blood in the sand and a broken human body. But Yalan was faster than they imagined, smarter too. He didn't match Khazur's strength. He used it against him. Khazur attacked again, a swing, a stomp, a kick. Each move powerful enough to shatter bones. But Yalan flowed like water, reading every motion, ducking, weaving, slipping past with grace. The crowd's cheer faded into murmurs. They were beginning to realize this human wasn't just lucky. He was trained. The princess watched with her breath caught in her chest. She remembered Yalan's eyes back in the garden, steady, quiet, kind. Not the eyes of a killer. But here he was, standing toe-to-toe with the beast they called unbeatable. And something inside her began to change. She wasn't alone. Her father, Emperor Vardak, narrowed his glowing eyes. His jaw tightened as he leaned forward on his throne. This duel was a formality to him, a show before an execution. But now, his most prized fighter was being outmaneuvered by a simple Terran. Soldier. Khazur roared again and rushed with both arms swinging. He struck the ground, sending cracks through the arena floor. Dust flew everywhere, hiding Yalin from view. For a second, it seemed like he was gone. But when the dust cleared, the crowd saw him standing behind Kaiser, untouched. It was then that Kaiser made a mistake. Frustrated, he charged without thinking. Yalin sidestepped again, but this time delivered a sharp elbow to the champion's ribs. The sound was like cracking stone. Kaiser staggered. The crowd went silent. The alien guards near the arena walls shifted uncomfortably. Whispers started. Was Kaiser hurt? Impossible. He had won 72 duels. He had crushed warlords, snapped the bones of giants, and brought down beasts twice his size. Yet now he bled. Because of a human, Yalin didn't celebrate. He didn't smile. He stayed calm, watching Kaiser breathe harder with each step. He saw the weakness in his opponent's right leg. He saw the tremble in his stance. Yalin had studied Kaiser like a map. Every weakness was now a path. The Emperor slammed his fist on the throne. One of his advisors leaned close and whispered something. He waved the man away. His pride burned, but so did curiosity. What kind of warrior was this human, who could read monsters like books and make giants bleed? The princess rose from her seat slowly, her heart pounded. She didn't know what she hoped for anymore. Part of her still feared for Yalin. Another part, deeper, darker, wanted him to win. Not just to survive, but to prove that kindness was not weakness. Kaiser charged. Again. His breath was heavy now. His roars had turned into grunts. His speed was failing him. And Yalin stepped in, close and dangerous, not avoiding this time. He dodged a punch and struck Kaiser's jaw, once, twice, then a spinning elbow into the side of the head. Kaiser dropped to one knee. Blood from his mouth hit the floor. The crowd gasped again. No one had ever made him kneel, not once in all his years. And now he did so before a Terran outsider. Yalin backed away, giving space, but never letting down his guard. The champion tried to stand, his limbs shook. But his eyes were no longer full of rage, they were full of confusion. He looked at Yalin like a man waking from a dream. Realizing too late that the world had changed, Yalin lowered his hand slightly, signaling no malice. But the duel wasn't over until one fell or surrendered. Kaiser pushed forward again, swinging wide. It was slow, desperate, and Yalin slipped under the strike and drove his knee into the champion's chin. Kaiser collapsed to the ground, face down, unmoving. The arena fell into complete silence. Even the wind seemed to pause. For the first time in living memory, the unbeatable had been defeated. And the victor was a human without a title, crown, or army. Yalin stood still, breathing hard but steady. His eyes searched the royal balcony. He didn't smile or raise his arms. He simply waited for judgment. The rules were clear. He had won. And now, the Empire owed him its most prized possession. The Emperor rose slowly, his teeth clenched. His chest heaved, but tradition could not be broken. He raised his hand, and the arena erupted in a thunderous, confused cheer. Yalin had done the impossible. And now the Empire owed him more than they ever thought they would. The arena was still echoing with roars when two guards stepped forward. They approached Yalin with hesitation, as if touching him might break their pride. He didn't resist when they motioned for him to follow. His body was tired, but his mind was sharp. He knew this wasn't just about victory anymore. He walked beneath the arena, through the silent steel corridors where torches hummed low and walls smelled of rust and blood. The guards avoided his gaze. They had no words. This human had broken something deep inside their belief, and they didn't know how to face him. He was brought before the Council of Elders, a circle of old and powerful warriors with horns, tusks, and glowing eyes. The Emperor stood in the center, his face cold and unreadable. The princess stood beside him, her hands trembling behind her back. "You won by law," Varda growled, his voice like thunder behind stone. "And by law, you may claim your reward. Speak, human. What do you want?" Jalen's eyes moved to his crew's cage across the hall. They were alive, shaken but unharmed. He pointed once. "Their freedom. Safe return to Earth. And supplies. To get us off this planet," the council murmured. The Emperor raised his hand. Silence returned. "So be it," he said. "But you forget the second prize. The prize that comes not by request, but by tradition. The possession we bet against your death. You must accept it." Yalen frowned. "I didn't agree to take anything else. I just wanted peace. The princess." "Step forward. You must accept it," she whispered. "If you refuse, it will bring shame upon the throne. Shame brings war. Please don't let this victory become a curse." Before he could reply, a large door opened. From behind it came a platform carried by 6 armored guards. Upon it stood a crystal cage, inside which stood a girl with bright emerald skin and silver eyes. Her clothes shimmered like living metal. Chains hung from her wrists, but her gaze burned with pride. "She is Kalara," said the Emperor, his voice bitter. "She is our empire's most valuable being. A vessel of power, of legacy, and prophecy. She is the one we bet against your life. Now she is yours." The room fell into silence again. Even the torches seemed to stop flickering. Yalen stared at the girl, and she stared back without blinking. She wasn't afraid. She wasn't begging. She stood as if this was her throne. "Not her cage. I don't want a slave," Yalen said firmly. "That's not how humans live." "She is not a slave," the princess said softly. "She is a symbol, and now she is yours. What happens next is up to you, but if you walk away, she dies. That is the rule of the vow. A possession that is rejected must be destroyed to cleanse honor." Yalen looked again at Kalara. There was no fear in her, only curiosity, only fire. And somewhere beneath it, a spark of hope. For the first time, he saw someone who had waited a long time for something unexpected. And now that moment had come. "I'll take her," he said finally. "But not as a possession. She comes as a person. As someone free." The Emperor's eyes narrowed. "She is free only as long as you protect her. The moment you abandon her, our right to execute her returns." Kalara's cage lowered slowly. The guards unchained her and stepped away. She walked forward with elegance, each step light but powerful. She stopped beside Yalen, then looked up at him with sharp calmness. "I will walk with you," she said, "but I belong to no man. Not by chain. Not by name. If you lie, I will destroy you." "I believe you," Yalen said without hesitation. The council said nothing more. The moment was complete. The blood price was paid. The Empire had honored the law. Now they waited to see what this human would do with what they never expected him to win. Kalara followed Yalen through the city streets as the people watched in silence. Some spat, others bowed, a few cheered softly. He didn't look at them. He only looked ahead, toward the spaceport where his ship had been repaired as promised. The crew welcomed him with wide eyes and nervous energy. They stared at Kalara but said nothing. Yalen nodded to them. "Get ready. We leave at nightfall." In his private quarters, Kalara sat by the window, staring at the 2 moons of Vorta Prime. "Do you think I'm a prize?" she asked without looking at him. "No," Yalen said. "I think you're a question I haven't answered yet." She turned to face him. "And will you try to find the answer?" He nodded once. "I already started the moment I accepted you." Outside, the night began to rise. But inside the ship, something ancient and powerful had just begun to stir. Kalara was more than a prize. She was a force bound by old laws and older secrets. And the human who won her may have unknowingly stepped into a war far greater than the arena. The ship lifted off quietly from Vorta Prime's rocky surface. Engines glowed under the silver moons. Yalan stood at the front of the deck, watching the stars rise as his homeworld became a tiny memory in the distant dark. Kalara sat behind him, legs crossed, arms resting calmly. Her eyes followed every movement of the crew. She didn't speak, unless spoken to. But when she did, the room always fell quiet. The crew treated her with caution. They had heard what she was. A living artifact of ancient power, the Empire's legacy. The girl that wasn't supposed to be touched, let alone won. And now she walked freely beside a Terran soldier. Yalan made sure her room was beside his, not locked, not guarded. He gave her freedom aboard his ship, but Kalara still didn't sleep. Each night she stayed by the window, eyes open, as if waiting for something to come out of the stars. On the third day, the first sign arrived. A pulse of static crossed the ship's comms. Then another. The pilot frowned and looked at Yalan. We're being scanned. Unknown signature, not Vortari. Not Council. Something else. Yalan leaned in. The signal repeated. It wasn't just scanning. It was searching, tracking. Then a voice came through, deep and mechanical, speaking an ancient dialect. Only Kalara understood. It's calling for me, she said, one of the old machines. A guardian left behind by my ancestors. They have awakened because I am no longer within the Empire's grasp. Yalan crossed his arms. Will it attack us? Not yet, she replied. But if it decides I am not in safe hands, it will. The crew stared at her with fresh tension. One engineer stepped back and muttered, We're carrying a walking galactic trigger. Yalan held up a hand. Nobody blames her. We deal with the signal. Stay calm. Stay alert. Hours later, the ship's warning lights turned red. A vessel appeared out of folded space. It was massive, black like obsidian, shaped like a spear, and silent. No heat, no comms, no visible life. Kalara stood near the viewport. Her voice was steady. That's the Vault ship. An automaton from the Celestial War. It holds judgment on any who violate the sacred bond. They are testing if you are worthy to guard me. Without warning, the Vault ship fired. Not a weapon to kill, but a beam of pure light that struck Yalan's ship and forced it to stop. The engines shut down. The lights flickered. All systems froze. Only life support remained. Yalan looked at her. What do we do? You stand, she said. That's all you can do. It will judge from your soul, not your strength. A light filled the cabin. It wasn't harsh. It wasn't cold. It wrapped around Yalan like fog. Then it showed him his memories, war, Earth, his fallen brothers. The day he buried his captain. The way he knelt beside his dying friend and whispered that he would never fight again. Then it showed Kalara, chained and proud, standing before him in the arena. It showed how he looked at her not as a prize, but as a person. How he stepped forward when others would have walked away. And how he spoke with honor when he had power. Then it vanished. The lights returned. The engines rebooted. The Vault ship disappeared into folded space, like a shadow never meant to be seen. The crew stared in silence. No one could speak. Kalara turned to Yalan. You passed, she said. They will not follow again. They believe you now. Yalan let out a breath. Then we keep going. Earth's still waiting. That night, Kalara entered his quarters without knocking. She sat across from him, watching the small light flicker between them. Do you know why they protect me? Because you're powerful, he said. More than that, she replied. I am the last of a bloodline that can open what should never be opened. Inside me is a seed of something ancient. Something sealed after the First Galactic War. Something that calls to me every night. Yalan listened without judgment. Do you want to open it? Kalara didn't answer immediately. I want to understand it. I want to stop being a tool. I want to know what choice truly means. Then you'll have it, he said. Not as a gift. As a right. For the first time, her posture relaxed. Her shoulders dropped. Her voice softened. You're not like them. I'm just tired of people being used, he said. I've seen what it does. It turns good hearts into broken weapons. They sat in silence as the stars rolled past the window. Two strangers no longer strangers. A girl who was never allowed to choose. And a man who had already chosen to protect her before he knew what she was. Somewhere beyond the stars, something stirred. Something that had waited for Kalara's escape. Something that had always known she would fall into human hands. And now, it had begun to awaken. The ship entered a quiet sector of space known as the Veil. It was a dark region where old signals vanished, and stars flickered like dying embers. No trade ships passed through. No colonies lived nearby. Only silence and strange readings filled the void. Yalin sat in the command seat, watching the radar show shapes that weren't there a moment before. Faint flickering signals. Sometimes they formed patterns. Sometimes they whispered nothing at all. The crew grew tense. Even the walls of the ship seemed to breathe differently. Kalara stood beside him, one hand resting on the railing. We're near the boundary, she said. Beyond this region lies what my people call the deep chain. It's where the key inside me was meant to be used. Yalin didn't answer right away. He studied the pattern again. The shapes had returned, forming a ring. Not random, not natural. They were waiting. If we turn back now, will they let us? Kalara shook her head slowly. We passed the point of return 2 jumps ago. The ancient systems know I've escaped. They will either reclaim me or see if you are worthy to face what's ahead. Ship shuddered. Not from attack, from a presence. Something was near, not a ship, not a planet, but a structure so massive that its edges disappeared into shadow. A ring world built long before modern time. Dead and yet still alive with light. This is the chain gate, Kalara said. My ancestors built it as a seal. But time has changed. Now it tests those who come near. If we land, it will decide if we may pass, or if we die. Yalin looked at his crew. Each face held fear, but not one turned away. We've come this far. We land. The ship descended onto a flat platform of ancient metal. Lights blinked beneath the surface. Air hissed through unseen vents. The doors opened and warm wind greeted them. But no one welcomed them. No guards, no machines. Only pathways that led toward a glowing temple in the distance. Yalin walked first. Kalara followed beside him. The others stayed aboard, weapons ready but quiet. As they stepped through the metallic corridors, symbols lit beneath their feet. Kalara paused and touched one with her hand. They remember me, she whispered. But they also remember betrayal. At the heart of the temple stood a column of glass, holding a floating crystal. Inside the crystal was a swirling light that pulsed in time with Kalara's heartbeat. She stepped forward. The crystal reacted. It spun. It sang. And then it cracked. Yalin pulled her back just as the walls changed. From them stepped figures of energy shaped like warriors, not physical, not machine. Memory given form. Guardians of the old laws. One stepped forward, taller than Yalin, its eyes burning blue. It raised a hand and spoke without sound. Yet both Yalin and Kalara heard it clearly in their minds. Show us the bond. Prove that she is more than a prize. Prove that she walks with you freely. If your words lie, you will be erased. Kalara. Step forward. You want proof? I choose him. I was bound to silence. He gave me voice. I was a symbol. He treated me as a soul. That is my truth. The guardian turned to Yalin. His heartbeat slowed. His thoughts opened. Memories spilled. Forth, not just of war, but of how he carried her cloak when she was cold. How he spoke gently when others would shout. How he never touched her without her nod. The Guardian stepped back. Then all the energy forms bowed and faded. The crystal cracked fully and split into two pieces. Inside was a map, not of space, but of something deeper, a chamber known only in ancient myth. The Tomb of Fire thought. Kalara stared at it. It's real. I always thought it was legend. A place where the first minds stored a weapon of creation or destruction. They never said which. Yalan looked at her. Why would they send you here? Because I was made to be the key, she said, not just by blood, but by design. My body, my voice, my very breath, it all connects to that place. I was never meant to live a normal life. You can still choose how this ends, Yalan said. I don't want to end, she replied. I want to understand why I was made. Why they locked this knowledge away. And why it called to me since I was a child. They returned to the ship with the broken crystal and the map inside. As the doors sealed, the temple lights shut down. Behind them, no one followed, no system warned them. But the stars ahead were no longer quiet. The Tomb of Fire thought had awakened, and now it waited for the one made to open it. The stars grew brighter as they neared the coordinates hidden within the crystal map. Yalan sat in the command chair, staring at the space ahead. There were no planets, no stations. Just a black patch between constellations where light bent strangely. Kalara stood behind him, silent. Her hand gripped the edge of the console, her silver eyes locked on the distortion. This is where the first minds vanished, she said. They poured all their thoughts, knowledge, and fears into a vault. Then they closed it forever. The pilot spoke without turning. And now we're going to knock on its door. Yalan leaned forward. Bring us closer. Slowly. No sudden moves. I don't want the tomb thinking we're a threat. As the ship crept into the zone, the stars around them blinked out one by one. A humming noise filled the ship. Every light dimmed. The crew felt pressure, not on their skin, but inside their minds, like someone flipping through their memories. Kalara stumbled. Yalan caught her. She looked up at him, her voice faint. It's calling me again. I feel it pulling my thoughts towards something old. Something buried deep inside me. Yalan nodded. Then we're in the right place. We're not turning back now. A sphere of light appeared in front of the ship. It was small at first, then expanded like a blooming star. Patterns spun across its surface, symbols ancient and unreadable. Then it pulsed once. The map in Kalara's hand turned to ash. The message was clear. They were expected. The ship moved forward on its own. No one touched the controls. Kalara's body relaxed, and her eyes began to glow faintly. The crew didn't speak. Fear and awe hung thick in the air. They passed through the sphere without resistance. On the other side was a world unlike any they had seen. A planet of metal and light, shaped like a puzzle of moving plates. Floating towers rose and fell in silence. A single spire stood at the center, glowing red like a heart. That's it, Kalara whispered. The Tomb of Fire thought. Yalan motioned to the others. We go together. If anything goes wrong, you leave. No debate. Understood. They landed on a circular platform surrounded by strange symbols. The moment Kalara stepped onto the surface, the tower responded. Stairs unfolded. Doors unlocked. Lights traced her movements like threads of destiny. Inside, the walls moved with them. They didn't walk through the tower. The tower moved to shape their path. Kalara led the way, her steps sure but heavy. Her body glowed with energy, her presence opening each sealed gate. At the final chamber, they found a great sphere suspended in midair. Inside it, fire swirled without heat. It spoke not in words but in feelings. It showed images, galaxies forming, wars consuming stars, minds screaming into silence. Then it focused on Kalara. A voice entered all of their minds at once. It was layered, neither male nor female. She is the last. She is the key. Shall she open the vault, or shall she return to silence? Kalara looked at Yalan. If I do this, I don't know what comes out. Knowledge, yes. But maybe something worse. This vault holds thoughts too powerful to forget. They sealed it for a reason. Yalan stepped beside her. What do you want? I want to be more than what they made me, she said. But I don't want to hurt the galaxy to do it. You won't be alone, he said. We'll face it together. Kalara stepped forward and placed her palm on the sphere. Her glow brightened. The fire within the sphere expanded. A beam of light surrounded her, lifting her gently into the air. Symbols raced across her skin. The chamber shook. Not with violence, but with awakening. Yalan reached toward her, but a force held him back. He didn't panic. He trusted her. And she trusted him. Then it stopped. The light vanished. Kalara floated down gently, the fire now calm within the sphere. Her eyes no longer glowed. She fell into Jalan's arms, weak but smiling. It's done, she whispered. I didn't unlock everything. Just a memory, a truth, one the galaxy forgot. Yalan helped her stand. What truth? That the first minds didn't seal the vault to hide power, she said. They sealed it to protect hope. They believed a better future was only possible when someone who had nothing chose to carry everything. Yalan held her hand tightly as they walked out of the tower. The tomb didn't close behind them. It remained open, not as a threat, but as a reminder. A new age had begun. Kalara looked up at the stars. For the first time, they didn't seem distant. They felt like home. The journey back from the tomb was not like the way in. The stars welcomed them now. The strange shadows in space had vanished. The ship felt lighter, as if it moved on thought rather than fuel. Kalara stood on the viewing deck in silence, her hand against the glass. Yalan walked in behind her. He didn't say anything right away. He knew she needed time. The power that once surrounded her had faded, but something deeper had taken its place. Not fire, not light, something calmer. Something alive. She turned slowly and met his eyes. The memory I unlocked is still inside me. It didn't change me. It reminded me, I am not a weapon. I was never supposed to be used to control others. I was created to remind people that hope must be carried, not buried. Yalan nodded. You're not alone anymore. You don't need to carry it by yourself. She smiled faintly. It was the first real smile he had seen from her, not guarded, not forced, just soft and true. As they passed into safe space, a signal lit up on the ship's screen. A fleet was waiting near the border, Vortari ships, dozens of them. The Emperor's crest pulsed on their banners. No weapons were armed, but their presence was loud. They followed us, the pilot said. Or maybe they just waited for the outcome. Yalan stood and walked to the comms. Open a channel. The screen flickered. Emperor Vardak appeared, seated in his throne. His face was the same, cold and unreadable. Behind him, the princess stood with her hands folded. Her eyes flicked briefly to Kalara. You live, Vardak said, and you return with the one we gave you. What did you find inside the tomb? Yalan didn't answer right away. He looked at Kalara. She stepped forward and spoke for herself. I found truth. I found that I am not yours, not a prize, not a weapon. I am the legacy you feared would awaken. And now I walk in the light of it. The Emperor's expression did not change. And what do you plan to do with this legacy? I plan to choose, she said. I plan to help where I can, protect what matters. And I will not kneel again. Silence filled the channel. Then the princess stepped beside her father. Father, let her go. The galaxy has changed. If we hold to the old ways, we'll drown in them. Vardak leaned back. And the human? What does he claim? Yalan spoke clearly. Nothing. I didn't fight to own anything. I fought to stop being owned. That's all. The Emperor studied him for a long moment. Then he nodded once. Then go. We will not follow, but know this. The galaxy watches you now. If you misuse what you carry, judgment will fall harder than you imagine. The screen went dark. The fleet turned without a word and disappeared into the stars. Kalara exhaled slowly. That's the closest thing to peace I think they've ever given. Yalan looked at her. What do you want now? I want to see the worlds they never let me visit, she said. I want to touch oceans. Listen to music. Learn to laugh without watching my back. And maybe plant something and watch it grow. Then we'll do that, he said. One world at a time. The crew adjusted their heading. Earth was no longer the destination. The galaxy was open now. Kalara had her freedom. Yalan had kept his promise. But more than that, they had become something unexpected. Partners not in war, but in rebuilding what others broke. That night, Kalara joined the crew around the main deck. She laughed when one of the engineers dropped a tray. She asked questions about stars she had never seen. She spoke like someone, tasting a new life and finding it sweet. Yalan watched her from a distance. He didn't interrupt. He didn't claim credit. He simply made sure she was safe. That was enough for him. When she finally sat beside him, her voice was gentle. You still think I was a prize? No, he said. I think you were the reminder that sometimes we fight not to win, but to protect what others forgot to care about. She rested her head on his shoulder without a word. Outside, the stars continued to move, unaware of the quiet revolution unfolding aboard a single Terran ship carrying a girl who once was chained, and a man who once was broken, and together they began to heal the galaxy. The galaxy began to whisper about the girl with emerald skin and the Terran who walked beside her. Rumors spread from trade posts to war fleets. Some called her a stolen relic. Others called her a living weapon. But those who saw her with Yalan used another word: free. Kalara stood under a violet sky on a world untouched by empire or war. The wind moved through the golden grass while children played behind her. Yalan approached with quiet steps, carrying a basket of fruit from the nearby market. He handed her a slice with a grin. She took it without speaking and bit into the sweet flesh. Her eyes widened. This is my first mango, she said. Yalan laughed. Not bad for a first taste of peace. They had spent months visiting neutral planets, places the Empire once ignored. Kalara asked questions everywhere. She studied art. She learned how to cook. She even danced beneath alien moons with people who had never heard her name. But peace didn't mean silence. The tomb's awakening had changed things. Old machines stirred across the galaxy. Long-forgotten programs activated. Some were harmless. Others were not. And some came looking for her. One night, while they rested aboard a floating village above gas fields, the alarm sounded. A black ship broke the atmosphere without permission. It bore no flag, no call sign. Just silence and movement. Yalan stood at the ready, rifle in hand. He looked at Kalara. You feel it too, don't you? She nodded. This one doesn't come to ask. It comes to claim. The black ship fired once, not to kill, but to cripple. It knocked out local systems. Shields failed. Lights flickered. Then it launched a pod that landed near their quarters. From it stepped a figure of silver armor and blue flame. Kalara stepped forward alone. Her voice carried no fear. State your purpose. The figure removed its helmet. It was not alive. Not dead. A construct of memory and purpose. You carry the sequence, the legacy. You are the vault bearer. Return to the deep chain or be dismantled. Yalan moved between them. She doesn't take orders from dead empires. The construct raised its arm. Before it could fire, Kalara shouted a word in a language lost to time. The construct froze. Its light flickered. Then it bowed. You remembered the tongue, it said. Then the code is truly alive. I serve. Yalan lowered his rifle. Serve? Who? Kalara stepped closer. Not me, not anymore. Serve life. Protect knowledge. Heal what war has broken. The construct remained still. Then its core blinked green. New directive accepted. It turned and returned to its ship. The ship lifted and vanished without a sound. The villagers stared in silence. Yalan looked at Kalara, his brow furrowed. You just gave an ancient death machine a new mission. She smiled. And it listened. That night, under glowing skyglass, Kalara and Yalan sat beside a quiet pond. Fireflies of this world drifted around them. Her head rested against his shoulder. I never thought I'd be more than a tool, she said. But now I see something clearer. I wasn't made to be a weapon. I was made to remind others they didn't have to be. Yalan held her hand. The galaxy may never be perfect. But with you in it, it just got better. She leaned up and kissed his cheek. And you? You were never supposed to win that duel. They bet everything on your failure. But you didn't fight for pride. You fought to save. That made all the difference, Yalan chuckled softly. I just didn't want to see good people in chains. And now, she said, we fly free. Together, they stood as dawn broke. The ship waited on the cliffside. Its hull gleamed in the new light. The crew loaded supplies with practiced hands. Everyone moved without fear. This was no longer just a ship. It was a symbol of something reborn. As they lifted into the sky, Kalara looked back at the world below. Children waved. Old men bowed. Traders shouted their blessings. She waved once, then turned forward. Yalan took the pilot's seat. Kalara sat beside him. Where to next? He asked. She smiled. Wherever the next forgotten soul needs reminding that they matter. And with that, they vanished into the stars, not as saviors, not as rulers, but as two beings who defied what others called fate. Together, they were not legend. They were the living proof that even in a galaxy built on power, kindness could still win.